You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Zanna on United States.fm network. Here we go, guys. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.fm network. Second hour. It's about guns. It's about mindset. It's about preparation. And last Sunday I was so excited because really I like to bring you news and facts and information that can benefit you. Okay, that's my goal here. It's not just to share news, but share news that can be changed or or improve you, or you can improve. Last time we had a meeting with the chapter director of Mojave County Oath Keepers, and we were talking about an event that I really think it's worth every dollar, especially because it's free. But if I would put a price on that, that would be probably very expensive. But when I found an event that is available to the community here in Mojave County, but everywhere you can drive to in this part of Arizona, in this part close to Kingman, Mojave County, and to attend this coming event, that you can find so much information and so much learning opportunities in different type of skills, not just shooting, but also preparing, medical, and different type of aspect of preparedness. I think was really worth it. Now, I was able to find out the person behind who really was the engine behind proposing all this technical and this training part. And it's funny because sometimes we like always to generalize, people like to, not say people, but the media especially try to paint gun owners as a bunch of monsters who like to eat babies for breakfast, and they maybe look all the same, like some sort of a redneck. And I've proven to you in the past many times, we are all potential, we can be gun owners. We are men, women, different people from different colors, from different background. And I'm so excited to have met this gentleman that I think is really a great guy. I've been reading a little bit about him. His name is Jay Okimoto, and you can see already the first thing, it is not the typical last name from, Alabama, okay? This guy, he has a different background, different cultural background, but he's a great guy. He's an American, and also he's really into guns. And today I wanted to bring him in to give us more information, of course, still about this event coming here with the Oath Keepers in Mojave County, but also to talk a little bit more about these classes, about guns and maybe rifle, and to be a little more technical. Okay, so let me bring him in. Jay, are you there?
I am here, sir. Thank you, and I appreciate the invite. And hello, everybody out there.
Very good. I always try to share with my listeners who we are, who you are, because we're all different. We all different backgrounds. And I think they like to know a little bit more about you. You are more than just a gun owner or a gun enthusiast or a person who dedicate yourself in learning the skills. You're also a person with, I really believe, according to your resume, with a big brain. And I'm really impressed about your education and what you do for living. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're from, how you grew up, and briefly, just what you do for living beside the gun aspect?
Sure. And I'm pretty humbled by that intro, so thank you. Well, I'm fifth generation American. My great-grandparents were born in the United States, but primarily most of my family were born in the state of Hawaii. I am Japanese by ethnicity and grew up in a pretty liberal town, in a pretty liberal household, primarily because as most local, if you want to call local native folks in Hawaii do, we tend to have always supported the liberal agenda and liberal cause. If you follow politics, you guys all know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of interesting that people are surprised when they find out about my background, where I came from, that I'm a very constitutional supporting pro-2A person. I came to the United States mainland primarily because of college. Mm-hmm. I ended up had the privilege of going to one of the best world-ranked private high schools that's in Hawaii. And because of that, it opened my eyes up a lot more. I had some great mentors there. And when I ended up applying for college, one of the things that my mom and I would talk about is that people like me, where we come from, we normally don't end up in college. A lot of my friends that I grew up during my grade school years, for example, are pretty much either living very, let's say, below the poverty line, which is kind of average, considering where I came from. And some of them are dead, or some of them are in prison. And I was going to be one of those statistics.
Wow.
Because of the insight of my mom, who worked when I was in grade school, 3 actual jobs. You see it on TV all the time. I worked 3 jobs. She actually worked 3 jobs.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that taught me a work ethic from early on. And she refused to be a victim. And so, although we grew up in, government housing as, my first 4 years of my life, she refused to live on any type of entitlement programs after that. Built a pretty good philosophical foundation, at least on work ethic for me. A lot of times I didn't like it. I didn't understand. I was a child, but that was the basis for pushing me to doing well in high school. I got accepted to several different schools, including Stanford, and we just never went to Stanford because we couldn't afford it. I got accepted to the University of Arizona School of Engineering, and I never left Arizona.
Wow.
So I've been out here since 1987, got accepted to the U of A at 17, and, again, it was one of those things where we didn't have a ton of money. My mother ultimately ended up becoming a business owner, and it's not anything fancy, but for her, it's her pride and joy. So she owns a beauty salon.
Beautiful.
And, she does better than the average person because of that. And with that in mind, it made me understand the benefits of being either an employee or an employer. And I was both throughout my life. I got recruited from a subsidiary of Citigroup when I was about 23, 22. And before that, to put myself through college, I was turning wrenches in an automotive garage.
Wow.
Because you can't obviously pay for tuition, on flipping burger paychecks. So I knew enough from my high school years with my father, who worked in the automotive industry for a little bit, not to the level that I did, but it, gave me some intro to it. And obviously it was fun as a younger kid. So as an adult, trying to find a way to pay tuition instead of flipping burgers, I decided, hey, I'm going to try out and start off turning wrenches by, doing oil changes and stuff. And at 21, I ended up passing all, at that time, 8 exams for your master's certification from Automotive Service Excellence, or ASE. So at 21, I was an ASE certified master technician. And it was interesting how some of the automotive dealers wanted to recruit me. And I said, you guys don't understand. I'm not going to the U of A to turn wrenches for the rest of my life. Not that that's not an honorable career, but my whole dream at that point was I didn't want to build or work on cars. I actually wanted to build cars. So that's why I went to the U of A, and my major was aerospace mechanical engineering. I also found out really quickly that although you can work and design cars, you can't really make the executive decisions unless you are somehow in the executive pool of decision makers. So then I said, okay, if that's the case, then I'm going to double major in general business. At the same time, I'm going for my engineering degree. Well, the irony of all that was my senior year, Citigroup came and recruited me. And for the next 7 years, instead of doing what I planned on doing, I ended up working the field of personal finance, and I was a financial analyst, and I was doing financial packages and plans for individuals.
Let me stop you 1 second, Jay. No, listeners, you think, what the heck is going on here? We're talking about guns. Yeah, this is exactly my point. because first of all, my goal in this show, it is not just to preach to the choirs, but it's trying to reach out people that normally they are kind of scared, even just to think about the idea of gun owner. You must be a monster, Instead, now look at this. I already broke here the first, let's say, mind control. This guy, Jay, it doesn't fit any of this stereotypization from the control propaganda media. First of all, he was born in a state, a blessed place. I love Hawaii. I've been there when I was younger for vacation, but it's called as liberal as you get. There are really no gun rights. And guess what? Doesn't matter where you're born, but if you have, first of all, your mind, a good mother, that's I said always, the foundation of the family is so important. The mother is going to be the mothers. They have a very huge role in creating a new generation. That's why no matter where you're born, your mother is the most important thing. So right there. And then look at this. He's not the typical white guy from Alabama, We're talking about a guy like myself with an accent. I wasn't born even here. I didn't have a Bill of Rights in America. And I want to prove you that, we don't want to stereotype. The same story with you, a guy from different cultural and ethnic background. Normally we don't see many people. For example, I had here Chris Chang, on the show like a few weeks ago, and I like him so much, because he destroys the stereotypization of the typical gun owner. The guy is a Oriental, is a Chinese descendant. I don't even call him Chinese because he's an American, but he's a Chinese descendant, and he lives in San Francisco, and he's also declared gay, and he's a great shot, and I call him my brother in freedom. That's the bottom line. So I'm so proud I found you and I met you. Now, after we pretty much freak out everybody to show that the point is, this stereotypization is just an illusion. It's like a prison for our minds. We are Americans. We treasure our rights. Simple as that. I don't care our accent. I don't care about our color of our skin, but we are here and we will stand up for our rights. And more important, I'm proud to show to the people that you came out from really tough situation, and you work hard, and you represent the spirit of what this country is supposed to be, in my opinion. Now, let's talk a little bit about, from all your different things that you do as business, about Crosswalk Readiness. Prepare to meet the future. What is this? What's going on here?
Well, Crosswalk Readiness is an outgrowth of my parent company that I own called Crosswalk Technologies. And it was those things. As a business owner for the last 12 years, I had the privilege, due to just the market that I'm in, that allowed me to have additional financial resources. And there was a time when I was shooting IPSC competition, and I shoot GSSF, and it was one of those things that it was fun and all that. But more and more I realized that the training industry tends to have a challenge that I didn't realize until I started taking a lot of training myself. And here's the joke, and it's not really a joke more than it's an irony, but here's the joke, and that is that a lot of the classes I went to with a lot of regional instructors, all the way out to, very well-known national and even internationally recognized instructors, had the same people. And what's funny is that although this type of training is very important, very good, and as you know, being a gun person yourself, Luca, firearms training and, more importantly, firearm self-defense skills, or what I call armed self-defense skills, are highly perishable.
Yes.
And so a lot of times, people will go and shoot here or there, sporadically. There is a reason why, for example, law enforcement has to go and requalify on a regular basis, because that skill is perishable. Well, I started Crosswalk Readiness saying, you know what, I see not only a market niche, but I can see a way to help contribute to our country. And it's kind of a indirect method. So come follow me here for a second.
Yes.
Here's what I did. Instead of, like I said, trying to fight for the same piece of the, a bigger slice of the same pie that everybody's fighting for.
Yes.
I said, I want a whole new pie. And here's what happened. Majority of my customers tend to be in regulated industries. This is your healthcare, your banking, your financial, because when it comes to technology, it's a much higher need when it comes to their customers' information from a protection and security standpoint, which is what we're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of our customers in the healthcare world tend to employ, in this state anyway, many females. Mm-hmm. And I found out after talking to a lot of them are single moms who are trying to get by.
Yeah.
But none of them really have thought about the concept of what methodologies am I planning to do to prevent myself or my child from being a victim of violence.
Yes.
And I thought about that, and I went, I wonder if I could start something. I'm not so much worried about the high-speed, low-drag type of training, but the kind of training where the very first thing was, let's try to teach you how to teach your child to be firearm safe. Because, as we all know, kids go to stay at other kids' homes, sleepovers, slumber parties, things like that. So I started with the concept of, why don't we teach a class called Gun-Proofing Your Kids to these moms? And then from that, it naturally had this outcropping of, hey, so now that you taught me that, are you able to teach me how to be safe using one as well? Absolutely. And that's where the light bulb went off. And at that point, I saw a little birdie kind of, in my mind going, I think you just found your niche in the firearms ownership responsibility paradigm model. And that is, everybody's chasing after the guys that want the Chris Costa classes and the James Yeager classes and the Gabe Suarez classes and the front side and the gun sight classes.
Yes.
But they're ignoring this important market. And here's why I say it's important. Because after doing this for the years that I've done, here's what I found out. Number one, I've taken somebody who really, I don't want to say that they didn't believe, more than they were uninformed about the fact that no matter how much the left says, why can't we all just go dance, sing Kumbaya, and get along, the reality is that with human nature being human nature, people are going to be out there that simply want to satisfy their own wants and greed and in these raw desires. And until we find a way to change human nature, which we won't, there's always going to be that bad guy out there. And so these folks at this level ended up finally getting a dose of real reality, changed their mindset, and I figure at the very least, I might have taken somebody who was either neutral or potentially anti and voting for the wrong folks. And maybe, just maybe for the first time, I'm helping our country because I'm helping people now not only see how reality really is, but maybe we've got some new voters for the first time.
Exactly. This
and to me, that is a huge deal.
I agree, Jay, and that's why exactly I was excited when I started to do researches about you, what you're doing. As I said before, if we do not cultivate, if we keep preaching just to the choirs, we're not gonna obtain the critical mass that we need. We need to reach out, especially, in my opinion, people that normally they're on the fence, and this is also the purpose of the show. In my opinion, also the women, because the mothers, they are the trainers, the educators for the next generation. So we need them really to give them a first. First of all, I give a lot of credit when you try to reach them out, to give them the type of basic training, even just to be safe, but also more important, to be independent, because a single mom who comes back from work and doesn't have the money for a bodyguard like maybe some of these actors or politicians, she needs to rely on the defense of herself and her family with a handgun, and hopefully she has some training, because otherwise it would be really a sad story even there. Now, a little bit about, so I wanted just to be sure I got it down right. Your organization, what we have here, that you are like the mind and the heart behind this event in Mojave County at the Shots Ranch. Crosswalk Readiness, you have like an official headquarters in Tucson. Do you offer classes to the public, or you just go around? Well, how does it work?
Sure. So this is how Crosswalk Readiness works. First and foremost, I want most people to understand, I don't need the revenue that comes from Crosswalk Readiness, and probably 30% of the courses that I teach are what I call qualified classes. Qualified classes are people who just don't have the financial resources to take a class.
Wow.
And for those people that qualify for a certain standard of economic poverty, I guess if you want to say it that way, I have classes where I will provide the gear, the firearms, the safety equipment, the range, the ammunition, and you will learn how to do this, and I will take all the costs myself.
Oh my gosh.
That's about 30% of the classes that I do. These are usually when we do what I call these donated classes or these scholarship classes, if you will. Usually it's to somebody who's never touched a firearm before. I can tell that they have a desperate need to develop these skills, primarily because they have little ones and they may not necessarily live in the safest part of town. They definitely don't have the immediate resources right now to go and buy a bunch of gear and show up to class. For those qualified folks, I tell them, okay, I reviewed your information. This is going to be a scholarship class. Here's what I want you to show up wearing, which is safe, outdoor, active outerwear, like long pants, closed-toe shoes, long-sleeve shirts, high collars, because as we all know, while cleavage is sexy, scarred cleavage is really unattractive and painful.
Yes.
So, you know, a lot of times they don't even understand dress. What's interesting is that all of a sudden, for the first time, they're not just thinking about firearm safety. They're also thinking about, wow, so the way I even dress can act as a deterrent, not only for my own safety, but also, so you see what I'm saying? Because now they're starting to ask, well, why closed-toe shoes? I said, well, because it's not about worrying about you stepping on your own feet, you know, or kicking something, but if you have to move, we want to make sure that you can move and get away from the bad guy.
Yes.
Can you do that with the flip-flops you have on? And all of a sudden this light bulb goes off, and they're like, we're actually becoming more of a detriment because of what we're choosing to wear. And I said, you know, at the very least, I'm glad you're thinking that way, because now you're starting to think properly when it comes to your own, self-reliance.
Wow.
So it's more than just guns that come out of this, Luca. It's a whole new lifestyle that starts to morph and develop. And there's this paradigm shift that's pretty humbling from my point of view when I'm watching them transform, not so much physical, they're transforming mentally. And they start accepting that whole philosophy of self-reliance and being able to stand on your own 2 feet, and not worrying about everybody saying, well, because you're a woman, you can't, because no matter how hard you try, the man's going to hold you down, so why try? To the first time, they're like, I actually could stand on my own 2 feet, regardless of what other people are saying.
Jay,
my answer to them is that's right.
Jay, I'm glad I asked you this because I wasn't aware of this, what you do. I knew that you were training people, but I had no idea that you were also doing as an act of love. And I'm so, this is the purpose of the show. It's called Love, Guns, and Freedom. And I really believe in the spirit of charity. I do not believe in the government's extortion. And that's why I always say, when the business, when the free enterprise, when the free market, when the free human being can succeed, can thrive, it's normally it's an instinct of to give back in a sort of a charity to our fellow humans. Myself, when times are great, I like to do my little part, and I don't need to talk about this now. But the point, what you're doing is great, and that's why I always say, please. First of all, this show today, I think, was worth it just to have you here, just as an example, as a human being, as a gun owner. But also now, I would like to have every listeners out there who live in around this area. But even if you live far away, think about it. You have an opportunity if you qualify for, I hope you can support Jay and pay your fee and dues. But if you are, let's say, a woman, a single person like a mom who needs some help and really has the need of a gun, and you don't have the resources and finances, what Jay is doing for me is newsworthy. And I say, I want to just be sure people understand that Jay is not my sponsor. I brought him here because I really like what he's doing. And I always let you know, guys, if somebody's my sponsor or not. So I really say, first of all, Jay, how can people reach you out? How can even just contact you via email or whatever way you want to be contacted to any of your classes?
Sure. Well, I'm going to say that probably the best way to contact me is, why don't you come and meet me face-to-face, because I will be at Shots Ranch for the Family Preparedness Training event. Great. October 2nd through the 4th in Kingman, Arizona. And if you just Google shotsranch.com or go to the one of the main sponsors for this event, which is the Arizona chapter of the Oath Keepers. And, if you just Google Arizona Oath Keepers, you'll find their website. And it's right on their front homepage as well. So there's multiple ways to find out about the event. Come up and meet me. I really enjoy people coming up and talking to me. At the event, the only downside is you're going to have to catch me during breaks, because I'm actually teaching, not only running the event as the executive director for the Family Preparedness Training event, but I'm also an instructor. So I'm actually going to be teaching, I think, every session but one. So I'm going to be teaching 6 classes out of the 7 potential class sections that are there. And I look forward to all of you still coming by. You're more than welcome to observe my class as well as any of the other. And, entrance to the event, like you said before, is free. I purposely set this up so that a significant amount of the classes are also free, thanks to a lot of the good people that believed in my cause and, threw some ducats at me to help offset the cost. I will be coming out of this negative. People are asking me, how much you plan on making? I go, nothing. I've already spent more than I know. We're going to end up reoccurring. And the money that we're getting back, folks, is not like to put in our pockets. It's so I can do the following. I have few resources left over, and all we're doing is helping out, for example, the instructors that are teaching are volunteering. So, they're traveling, trying to give them some gas money.
Yes.
So some of the money is for that. Some of the fee money is to pay for our targets and the consumables that get used in the classes. So, again, when it's all said and done, the small fees for each class, which averages usually somewhere between $3 to $5, isn't making us rich. It's actually money that I'm trying to collect to help offset small consumable costs. And at the same time, if I can give the instructors who might have traveled,
yes,
in my case, 200 something miles, to cover some fuel for some of those guys, because all the instructors are doing it free of charge. They're not charging a tuition fee. And right now we've got 23 regionally or nationally recognized instructors showing up. And these folks aren't, okay, I was a cop 20 years ago, or I was in the military 20 years ago, and I remember training from back then, so I'll teach you what I know. No, it's not that, folks. Every single one of the instructors that are at this event, either A, are full-time instructors for DOD or law enforcement.
Wow.
B, they are full-time instructors for those as well as commercial instructors. Or C, they're full-blown commercial instructors that work for commercial training schools, or they own their own school.
Wow.
So everybody that is going to be placed in front of you, folks, are the same people. If you are in the military or if you're in law enforcement and you're on a specialty team like SRT, HRT, or SWAT, because we have SWAT instructors as part of our cadre of instructors, for example. But these are the folks that do this every single day for a living.
Jay, let me
and these are the folks.
Go ahead. Let me stop you one second only, because this is important. You say very important things, but I need to remind one thing to the people. The purpose of the show is not just to talk about guns, but hopefully to give you the opportunity to find your way to exercise this right and also to practice these skills. Okay, today I tell you there is a lot of problems. I understand with the economy, people complain. I can afford that school, I can afford $2,000 for 4-day class. Like for example, if you go to front site, if you're not a member, it's thousands of dollars. I mean, there is no excuse today. Today there is no excuse. That's why I wanted to really hammer this event at the Shots Ranch with you, because this is an opportunity that probably, I don't know if you're gonna really haven't had a chance to take it anymore. So, and I was reading here the different classes that you take care of, that you teach. For example, defensive pistol 1 and 2, defensive carabine 1, defensive shotgun 1. Now, before I forget, I will upload the whole file you send me, like on drivegoogle.com, this file. I will put the whole brochure of this event on lovegunsfreedom.com. Go to the homepage. I'm going to make it simple for you guys. Go to the homepage, lovegunsfreedom.com, and you can print out this event with all the information, how to go there, what you exactly can get, what you need to bring. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I really say this is something that normally doesn't happen every day, because as much as, it's tough to find people like yourself that can afford the time and can afford the resources to donate so much to the public, and I really say it's great, but sometimes people just can't do that. So please, people, take advantage. Now let's talk a little bit more about the classes. For example, I'm a regular guy. Let's say somebody just want to join. I'm sure there is a way that you will sort out the different people according to the level of skills. Somebody that, for example, already has some basic skills with a handgun, and they want to come there, what do they expect to learn from, for example, defensive pistol 1? What do you exactly, how many hours is this defensive pistol 1, and what do we talk about here?
Sure. So defensive pistol 1 is not only the core prerequisite class for many of the classes at this event. In the training industry, it's also considered the core for most firearms training and tactical schools as well. A lot of the fundamentals that you learn at this class is what is the foundation that gets used for the other classes of build. Mm-hmm. Defensive pistol 1 is designed for people who basically can do the following. I can buy a gun by myself without anybody helping me. I can go to the range, set up my table, set up my gear, commands unassisted, clean my gear unassisted, pack everything up unassisted, and go home and then buy my own ammo and accessories.
Okay.
For those people, that means that you've had some exposure and you're comfortable with your firearm from what I refer to as a basic marksmanship level. Basic marksmanship is not about firearms defensive use or what I call armed self-defense. Mm-hmm. People who are at that level where they're comfortable with their firearm but really never took it to a self-defense level, Pistol 1 is for you.
Okay.
What we're going to do at Pistol 1 is, as just a brief outline, is the following. We're going to do a marksmanship review just to make sure that you are truly comfortable at that level and you can run your gun unassisted from a purely marksmanship standpoint.
Okay.
We're going to go...
How many yards, for example, beside the basic being comfortable and safe, of course, with a gun, when you're talking about the marksmanship, we're talking about shooting from the holster or from the ready, and from how many yards to how many yards? Let's say, what is the basic things that you do in doing this class? Like say 3 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, or I don't know. You just tell me.
Sure. So once we know that you're comfortable with basic marksmanship, which is body posture, stance position, grip, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, breath control, follow through, et cetera, now we're going to start you off with defensive concepts, mindset, and some explanation of what it means to run a firearm legally as a civilian or an off-duty officer, if you will. It's definitely not, DOD we're talking about, in a battlefield, because that's not what you need to learn here, okay? And what we start off with is what's called the draw. The defensive draw is usually the first thing that all noteworthy firearm schools start you off as, because if you cannot safely and rapidly, and which is the key word here, deploy your self-defense firearm in a timely manner that allows you to race the bad guy from reacting in a way to stop you, you're going to have the bigger benefit of the doubt from a leverage standpoint. So we start off with the draw, and everything is built off of that, because you're going to be able to, at the end of the class, use rapid draw techniques and firearms manipulations to shoot at multiple distances from 3 yards out to 15.
Wow, good.
You're going to be able to learn how to shoot it with a little bit of pressure, which means that you don't stand there all day long to aim, but you have to get your rounds off. You're going to learn how to comfortably and proficiently shoot multiple rounds in a string simultaneously. So instead of just shooting once and looking at your target, you're going to shoot multiple times. And our whole concept is that we want you to learn how to stop the threat. And people say, well, don't I just shoot them once and they're done? Believe it or not, handgun rounds are really crappy when it comes to stopping a human being if their willpower is there. You have to shut down their sympathetic nerve system, and if you can't do that with one perfectly placed shot, which most people can't do, especially under stress, you're going to have to continue to shoot until the threat stops. And that is a concept that is very foreign between marksmanship shooting and actually shooting in self-defense. When you take Pistol 1, this is what I call America's native martial art.
Yes.
And that is gunfighting.
I
agree. And gunfighting is not about the gun, folks. It's about the fight.
Yes, I agree. The gun is just the tool, the point, but we
That's
need
correct.
to be proficient. I call it as an extension of our body, because after all, the biggest weapon is our mind, is our mindset, but the tool we must know the tool to be safe and
That's
to be
correct.
proficient. Now, another important thing I really like, this is so important, seriously, because sometimes we go out there, and for me the most dangerous things, it is not a gun, but it's an arrogant gun owner, seriously. A person that does not have the desire to learn, and more important, as the arrogance to think that he knows everything. That's for me, that's so sad. That's what gives also bad name to gun owners. And that's why I think, we should try to help each other, especially when you offer something like this. There is no excuse. Now, we're talking about how many rounds you think for the average defensive Pistol 1. First of all, how many hours is this defensive Pistol 1, this class? How many hours runs? And how many ammo you need to bring for defensive Pistol 1?
Sure. So for the defensive Pistol 1, the standard class is 2 days. We have condensed and pulled out the heart and soul, if you will,
Yes.
using your language,
Yes.
of the 2-day defensive Pistol 1, and we've condensed it down to a 6-hour class.
Wow.
What we're hoping for is that we're going to be, yes, it's going to be a little bit fast-paced, but what we want to make sure at the end of the day, for your $3, you've got, a $400 level type training
Oh my gosh.
in
$3.
6 hours. And even if we don't expose you to everything in the 2-day training, you're going to get a lot more than the average person who owns a firearm is ever going to get, unless they plan on going to training. Because here's the thing, Luca, you own a guitar, right?
Yes.
And I own a guitar. Guess what? Just because I own it, I still can't play it like you. You know why? Because I didn't take training on how to play guitar. I just bought one, and I'm going to take training one day. I just haven't had the time to it. But just because I own that guitar doesn't mean that I am a musician. Just like if you bought a handgun and you didn't take training, it doesn't mean that you can stop a threat with a handgun. It just means that you own something that you still haven't used in a crisis scenario. And, you hear it all the time. Well, how hard is it to pull a trigger and point a gun? I don't know. Let's see. How hard is it when you got cold cocked because you weren't paying attention, because you're busy texting and walking, somebody sucker punches you, you're on the ground, and you've got 4 guys stomping on you. Now, how hard is it to get your gun out?
Yeah. Now, let me say something very important. People maybe say, what did he say? $3? Yes, you heard right. $3 for a class that 6 hours of people that, by the way, they're giving really their love, sharing their love, volunteering, driving, leaving their families for a long weekend. I mean, this is what I call love, guns, and freedom, because it's about love. Loving for your fellow humans, love for fellow American, love for this country. Because at the end of the day, it is almost selfish in a good way when we have law-abiding citizens who believe in this republic, who believe in freedom, and armed, educated, and we have a safer community, we have a safer society. You wish maybe the day that you are alone at that gas station and they try to mug you or they try to rape your daughter, that you are not alone, but you have maybe another gun owner like you, a person who believes in freedom and also has a gun, but also has the skills, the basic skills to defend. You wish every law-abiding person, this is my goal, of the show, to remind that the best form of love and defending freedom and defending each other is to have law-abiding people out there facing evil with weapons, because evil doesn't care. He will get everything he needs anytime he wants to perpetrate evil. Here we need good people having better skills and the desire to stand up. And that's why you kick in, and I really believe you find exactly what you said, the right niche. We need to reach out people that normally we leave behind. The big classes with the big names, for the big wannabe special forces, that's great. I love those too. But this is something we need to forget, that 90% of the people out there, they're just regular people. They need to try to make a living, and they want to have affordable education in this martial art of self-defense. Excellent.
Hey, Luca, you said something really important that I want people to really understand, and that is you were talking about evil of man.
Yes.
I've had people ask me, they were trying to basically goad me into saying something that they can use to, hurt me or embarrass me or try to make me look like I'm the bad guy. And, the way they do that, obviously, the liberal media is very good at, trying to work your emotions up to get you angry. Okay. I mean, we see this right now. Last night on CNN with the GOP debate. Okay, but one of the common lines that over the years I've had people tell me, well, you must be just compensating for something. Like they're trying to make me feel like I might not be the man that I want to be because I own a firearm that kind of compensates. And that they do that to goad you, right? I tell you what. Here's what I always tell them, and I want you guys to really understand, it's because of what Luca said about the evil out there. And my answer is, you bet I'm compensating for something. I'm compensating for the fact that most thugs and punks and professional criminals are going to be bigger, stronger, more devious, and practice fighting more because they're always fighting out in the street.
Yes, or in jail.
More than I am. Therefore, you bet I'm compensating for the fact that I am planning to be attacked by somebody who is bigger than me, who is stronger than me, who fights more than me. Because if you want to be good at fighting, guess what you need to do, folks? You need to fight. Just like if you want to get good at playing the guitar, you need to practice and play the guitar. I'm not going to go out and pick fights with people. Therefore, I have to compensate for the fact that I'm not going to break the law just to get skills to defend myself.
Yes.
So anyway,
and also, and I think one thing to add to this, when people say, "Oh, you must be afraid," no, exactly the difference. I made a decision to do not be afraid, and even knowing my humanity, because remember, there is not courage without fear. Okay, so I'm not Superman. I'm not a guy. Oh, I'm not afraid. I'm a human being. Okay, of course I have fear, but I transform this fear in courage, because that's exactly, they must coexist. And more important, I am not afraid because I made a decision to stand up for against evil, and that's why I have a gun. And I hope I don't need to use it, but the point is, I already made my mindset before. That's why I always say to my friends, before even you buy a gun, and I have the same conversation with my mother in Italy. Of course, they have no guns there, but when she comes here, you know what? I had the most beautiful joy in my life, My mother, she was allergic to guns, even just the idea of a gun, because she's part of the brainwashed society of Italy. On top, she's a very mild and pure spirit, okay? Almost utopistic. But she realizes, no matter what, that evil exists. And she comes to Arizona and she starts to see the different lifestyle, and she see, wow, you have a gun, but you're not irresponsible. Wow, you're a gun, but you know how to use it. Wow, you're a gun that, she understands also the philosophy of freedom. It's not just about have a gun to shoot for sport or for self-defense. It's about freedom. And more important, one time I have to leave her in my ranch here, and she has to go. Oh my God, this is so funny. And there was a thunderstorm in the area, and I have all blinds, that goes down, electronic blinds, everything. She was safe in the house, okay? But my dogs, they were freaking out. So out of the blue, she started to hear noises like somebody tried to knock down the blinds. And she calls me. I said, look, they're breaking in. Where is your gun? I said, mother, you don't even know to use your gun. I need to learn now. So I came back, mother, everything's okay. Probably they are the dogs. And I found out I have a camera system. I was checking, everything's fine. I called my neighbor. We're just dogs. My dogs tried to break in, tried to break the blinds because they're afraid of the thunderstorm. But the point is, we came back home, said, mother, let's talk a little bit here. What is your mindset? What if somebody's tried to harm me and I'm on the floor bleeding and they try to kill me? Would you squeeze the trigger? Say, yes, I will. I would. And that's the point. Till you don't have that type of decision that you make and you you have the visualization of that act, is not to take a life, as I said, but to save a life. That's like good people with guns. They do not take lives. They do not kill. We save lives or we prevent violence. That's the bottom line. Till you don't make this moral, ethical decision, because I respect everybody. If you're a Buddhist or if you're St. Francis of Assisi or whatever you want to be, you say, you know what, I'd rather die than kill another human being, even if I try to stop a crime. That's your choice. I am not like that, but I respect you. You do what you think is right. But until you make that decision that you must be able to squeeze the trigger, you don't want to even buy a gun, because otherwise you would give an extra gun to a bad person. So we talked with my mom, and of course she understood also the practicality, forget about the freedom aspect, to be alone in especially places that, women have the disadvantage by anybody. So we came back home. Sure. I have my surf gun, my little laser surf gun, and we had a lot of fun. She really enjoyed it.
Yep, absolutely.
And
that's where it starts. And you notice that her enthusiasm for wanting to learn was brought about from the fear that she experienced during that lightning storm. And folks, I tell you, there's so many times where I've had people say, I've been assaulted, or the few times that I've had those intimate conversations with a student where they said, I have been raped, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
And I shake my head going, my gosh, why didn't you learn this beforehand? And it's almost as if, again, human nature, we have to suffer and go through some traumatic loss before we learn the lesson. And it's horrible and tragic that happens, but it does. And folks, let me tell you, if you ever pondered the idea that you could be a victim one day, don't wait to be a victim before you act. Act now, and go learn something. That's why we did this. And there's organizations out there that are promoting this like wildfire, like the Arizona Oath Keepers, like your show, like the Arizona Citizens Defense League.
I see you're a member, by the way.
And a bunch of other training groups. And I tell you, they're promoting it because they understand the value behind this. When you're talking classes over a weekend that would average to the typical student who shows up, if it was a commercial environment, you're looking at $1,000 on an average for tuition.
Yes.
You're going to average probably about $20 of tuition at this event. And for you naysayers that might be saying, well, must not be valuable.
Jay, 1 second. Let me interrupt you. Otherwise, I want to stay within the time. And there's so much things I want to cover with you. How many rounds do you think the shooter needs to bring for the defensive pistol one? How many rounds? An average.
Defensive pistol one, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be a 300-round count class.
Perfect. Now, defensive pistol two. What are the? You told me the requisites. You need to have at least defensive pistol one. How many hours do you offer in the defensive pistol 2, and what type of topics do we touch? What type of training?
Sure. Defensive pistol 2 is, again, the same thing like Defensive Pistol 1, where it's a condensed class that normally takes 2 days, and we're doing it over a 4-hour period. And it's primarily meant for people who have already graduated from a commercial level Defensive Pistol 1, or you've graduated from the Pistol 1 class that we've done here at the event. This basically takes somebody from what I call your foundation of self-defense pistol manipulation, and now you are introduced to the world of dynamics. The difference between the two is that in Defensive Pistol 1, you are going to be addressing targets pretty much from a 5-foot circle. Defensive Pistol 2 takes all of those skill sets and then also incorporates things like shooting with your support hand versus your strong hand, takes you more into manipulation drills and malfunction drills, as well as now shooting on the move. And when we're talking about on the move, folks, we're not talking about, okay, I took 2 steps to the left and I pulled the trigger. That's Defensive 1, where you understand and get exposed to the concepts of getting off the X. And if you don't know what the term is, show up, folks, and we'll teach you. It's an important term to know. In Defensive Pistol 2, you are not just getting off the X, you are starting to learn a new concept called controlling the X, where you're actually moving the X around. And again, if you guys want to learn what this means, please show up to this. It's a very important concept, and I know, Luca, you've taken a bunch of commercial classes. You know exactly what I'm talking about, how important that X is, correct?
Yes. And also what I like, as much as I am a member at Frontside, but I like to learn from everybody, and I think it's so beautiful to go and to open our horizons to see different, let's say, training methods. So it's so important. Yes, I would like to see exactly what you talk about in person, and I would love that. Another thing I want to say, I would like also to talk exactly. Normally, when the average person go Sunday at the range, they bring their bag, they got a little cigar, and they think that just because the gun is on the table and they can hit that target 7 yards, great, with a limited time while they're smoking their cigar, they think, okay, I got it down. No. First of all, exactly, the X, that you are never going to be as fast as you think you are. The moment that you're static, you are a target. So we got to get out of that X. We got to get out of the line of fire. And that's why it's so important. First, start from the basics to be sure that you got down the marksmanship, to be sure that you can hit the target on demand every time you want, and more important, also with the right speed, according to, it's always a compromise between speed and accuracy, but you never want to get misses. And then at that point, you need to start to incorporate all that into moving out of that X line of fire. Now, one thing I was going to say, how many rounds do we need? How many hours is this advanced class for handgun?
So level 2 is a 2-day condensed version down to 4 hours.
Okay.
The round count is going to be slightly less. It's going to be around 250.
Okay.
And the reason for that is the higher you climb in the more advanced skills courses, the less shooting you do and the more instruction you get, because now you're starting to develop scenario-based training. And so with that comes more instruction. Now, folks, just so you guys get a big picture, I don't want people to think, okay, I learned Pistol 2, and now I'm a really good gunfighter. In the big scheme of, folks, Pistol 1 and Pistol 2 in the commercial world is still considered remedial training.
Yeah.
So if people all of a sudden go, wow, this is pretty advanced, folks, you have no clue what advanced looks like. Come to this weekend, because we actually have a combo Pistol 3, Pistol 4, which is called Pistol Combatives, where you're actually, if you qualify, you'll actually learn how to do scenario-based active shooter live fire training, as well as force on force. What is force on force? Force on force is where we actually role play with less than lethal firearm type training guns, and we actually shoot each other.
Wow,
beautiful. And you will not know how to react until you actually get shot at. You think you can control your firearm. Well, let's get some incoming coming towards you and see if you can still hit your target.
Exactly.
And it's not about, okay, you're just going to stand there and shoot. No, you're actually going to be using different shooting positions, different shooting methodologies. You're going to be shooting strong hand, offhand, support hand, different positions. You're going to be shooting from your back. You're going to be shooting from your side. You're going to be shooting on your stomach. You're going to be shooting while guys and gals are attacking you with rubber training knives. This is the real world stuff. So, folks, understand that when it comes to the martial arts of firearms training, defensive qualifying and graduating from Pistol 2 is like getting your first degree black belt. And if you ask anybody in martial arts what that means, they will tell you that just simply means now I am at the white belt level of the black belt level.
Yes.
So, you know how you have black belt level 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay? You learn remedial manipulation and dynamic skills. That's what your white belt to your black belt is.
Jay, let me sorry to interrupt you, because time is almost close to the hour, and I want to close a couple of things. There are also other classes, you know, for the listeners. There is also rifle 1, rifle 2. My question is, since time is limited, you only going to be there for 3 days. Are you able to do, for example, let's say I want to do handgun class 2 and a rifle carabine. Do these classes are at the same time, or you can be able to do both classes the way it's set up?
So the way it's set up is just like a college level curriculum. Certain classes that are really popular, like Pistol 1, Pistol 2, Carbine 1, are actually repeated. For example, we actually have some of those classes on Friday. Then we have some of those classes on Saturday. And then we have repeats again on Sunday. So it just depends on which class it is, but we actually have some repeats. For the most foundational class, which is taking somebody who is still a brand new firearms owner and haven't really gotten any kind of training, maybe not even shooting. We actually have a class called the New Gun Owner. And from there, you can jump right into either the Arizona C certification course. By the way, we're doing that course for $10. It's actually free with a $10 fingerprint fee. So you can get your CCW permit certification class done at this event. Or you can take that or track off to a class called the Defensive Pistol Fundamentals.
Jay, we have 10 seconds.
Will get a new person up for Pistol 1.
The hour is out. I have 10 seconds to close. I want to just say something. First of all, thank you. I really say thank you from my heart for what you're doing, the opportunity you're giving to everybody. I will post on lovegunsfreedom.com on the homepage a link for all this information with every class, every course, and the date and the place, and of course the phone numbers to call. Everybody's listening. This is a unique opportunity. And Jay, I want to thank you again. All I can say, please, let's try. I'll try to do everything to commit myself to be there. And even I had previous commitment. I'm completely erasing everything else. And I hope to see you there. Okay.
Absolutely.
And meanwhile, I want to say to my listeners, guys, this show, you see, all I wanted to talk today was to give you an opportunity. Meanwhile, if you want to keep me up there on the air and try to keep doing this, even just to cover the basic costs, my time is pretty much for free. I invite you to go to my website, zanna.us or zannaart.com. And you can do it. Support me, even just downloading any of my songs for just 99 cents. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. We look at Zanna. Don't go away. Ready for our number 3. We will talk about love and much more.